The Crusades and their impact on the Christian Church. The Crusades were not only military campaigns but also religious enterprises that deeply affected the Christian Church. They demonstrated the Church's ability to mobilize the faithful across Europe, bolstered its political authority, and reshaped its institutional structures. However, the Crusades also exposed divisions within Christendom, highlighted the dangers of excess religious zeal, and ultimately contributed to challenges to the Church's authority in the centuries that followed. 1. The rise of papal authority. The Crusades as a papal initiative. The Crusades were initiated and sanctioned by the papacy, beginning with Pope Urban II's call at the Council of Clermont in 1095. By framing the Crusades as a holy war to liberate Jerusalem and aid Eastern Christians, the papacy positioned itself as the spiritual and moral leader of Christendom. This initiative marked a significant expansion of papal power, as the Church assumed the role of rallying and directing military campaigns. Urban II's appeal resonated widely, with knights, nobles, and peasants pledging themselves to the cause. The Church's ability to unite disparate European factions under a common religious goal showcased its influence and reinforced its centrality in medieval society. Consolidation of Church power. The success of the First Crusade and the establishment of Crusader states enhanced the Church's prestige. The concept of indulgences, introduced as a reward for Crusaders, allowed the Church to promise spiritual benefits, further solidifying its role as the gatekeeper of salvation. The ability to grant indulgences also became a significant tool for the Church to raise funds and garner support for its projects. 2. Spiritual and theological developments. Indulgences and the doctrine of holy war. The Crusades institutionalized the concept of indulgences, where participation in a holy war granted remission of sins. This practice highlighted the Church's theological authority but also paved the way for abuses, such as the later sale of indulgences, which became a catalyst for the Protestant Reformation. The Crusades also strengthened the notion of holy war, blending religious devotion with military action. While this concept initially unified Christendom, it also raised moral and theological questions about the justification of violence in the name of faith. Impact on pilgrimage and piety. The Crusades intensified the tradition of pilgrimage, as the journey to Jerusalem was framed as a sacred act. This emphasis on pilgrimage expanded to other holy sites, fostering a culture of travel and devotion that shaped medieval spirituality. 3. Divisions within Christendom. Tensions between Catholic and Orthodox Christians. One of the unintended consequences of the Crusades was the exacerbation of tensions between the Roman Catholic and Eastern Orthodox churches. The Fourth Crusade's sack of Constantinople in 1204, driven by political and economic motives, shocked the Byzantine Empire and deepened the schism between the two branches of Christianity. This event strained relations and solidified divisions that persist to this day. Persecution of heretics. The crusading spirit was also directed inward, leading to campaigns against heretical groups within Europe. The Albigensian Crusade, 1209 to 1229, targeted the Cathars in southern France, demonstrating how the Church used the crusading ethos to suppress dissent and consolidate its authority. While successful in eradicating the Cathar movement, these campaigns highlighted the Church's willingness to use violence to enforce orthodoxy. 4. Challenges to the Church's authority. Disillusionment with the Crusades. As the later Crusades failed to achieve their goals, public enthusiasm waned, and criticism of the Church's leadership grew. The diversion of the Fourth Crusade, the ineffectiveness of the Fifth and Sixth Crusades, and the ultimate loss of the Crusader states by 1291 undermined the Church's credibility. Many began to question the wisdom and motives of the papacy in pursuing these costly and often fruitless campaigns. Economic and moral corruption. The Crusades exposed and sometimes exacerbated corruption within the Church. The use of crusading taxes, the sale of indulgences, and the material greed displayed by some Crusaders tarnished the Church's moral authority. These issues contributed to growing dissatisfaction among the laity and foreshadowed the reform movements of the late medieval and early modern periods. Seeds of the Reformation. The disillusionment and corruption associated with the Crusades played a role in undermining the Church's monopoly on spiritual and temporal authority. Criticism of practices like indulgences would later become central to the Protestant Reformation, as reformers like Martin Luther challenged the Church's control over salvation and doctrine. 5. The Church's role in cultural and intellectual exchange. Transmission of knowledge. The Crusades facilitated cultural and intellectual exchanges between Europe and the Islamic world. The Church played a key role in preserving and disseminating knowledge acquired during the Crusades, including translations of works by classical authors like Aristotle and advances in medicine, mathematics, and astronomy. These contributions enriched European thought and laid the groundwork for the Renaissance. Art and architecture. The Church sponsored many artistic and architectural projects inspired by the Crusades. Gothic cathedrals, adorned with pointed arches and intricate carvings, reflected influences from Islamic architecture encountered during the Crusades. These structures symbolized the Church's dominance and its connection to the broader Christian world. 6. The enduring legacy of the Crusades on the Church. The Crusades left a lasting legacy on the Christian Church, shaping its development in profound ways. Strengthened organizational structures. The logistics and coordination required for the Crusades led to the development of more sophisticated administrative systems within the Church. These systems enhanced the Church's ability to govern its vast network of dioceses and manage its resources. A dual legacy of inspiration and criticism. The Crusades remain a source of both inspiration and controversy for the Christian Church. While they demonstrated the Church's ability to unite people under a common cause, they also revealed the dangers of unchecked ambition and the moral complexities of religious warfare. Impact on interfaith relations. The Crusades profoundly affected Christian-Muslim relations, creating a legacy of mistrust that continues to shape interfaith dialogue. The Church's involvement in the Crusades is a reminder of the challenges of balancing spiritual ideals with political and military ambitions. The continued legacy of the Crusades on the Christian Church. The legacy of the Crusades extends beyond their historical timeline, deeply influencing the structure, mission, and perception of the Christian Church in subsequent centuries. This continuation explores how the Crusades shaped theological thought, the Church's global mission, and its evolving relationship with other religions. 7. Theological developments and reflection. Refining the doctrine of holy war. The Crusades institutionalized the concept of holy war within Christianity, sparking significant theological reflection on the morality of violence in service of faith. Initially, the Church justified the Crusades as a defense of Christian lands and as a spiritual duty. However, the later failures and excesses of the Crusades prompted internal debates about the ethical limits of warfare. Medieval theologians like Thomas Aquinas sought to reconcile the idea of just war with Christian teachings. Aquinas' writings on Bellum Justum, just war, provided a framework for understanding when violence could be morally acceptable, emphasizing the importance of legitimate authority, a just cause, and the right intention. This intellectual legacy continues to inform Christian thought on war and peace. Redefining pilgrimage and penance. The Crusades transformed the concept of pilgrimage into a form of active devotion that combined physical sacrifice with spiritual redemption. This redefinition had a lasting impact on Christian spirituality, influencing later practices of penance and charity. The theology of indulgences, which expanded significantly during the Crusades, eventually faced backlash during the Reformation. Reformers like Martin Luther criticized the commercialization of indulgences, highlighting the lasting tensions between the Church's teachings and its practices during the crusading era.